Giggleland might look like a friendly mascot horror game, but it contains a dark secret. The popularity of this game has been skyrocketing, and it hasn't even been released yet, but it contains a horrifying lore. And in today's video, we're gonna go over that exact thing. The developers have made a secret mini game as well as different VHS tapes to provide us with a backstory before the actual game is released. But first, let's talk about Giggleland for those who haven't seen it yet. On January 2nd, 2025, they released an official Steam teaser trailer. This shows you the park for the very first time, as well as introduces us to the characters Elliot and Ella. They welcome us to the park, and to the dislike of Ella, go over the rules. Now, the rules are pretty standard for a theme park. The first one is stay out of staff areas, and the second one is just to make sure you're the right height before getting on any of the rides. But when they get to rule number 3, things take a dark twist. Rule number 3 states if there is a hazard in the park, follow the exit signs and get out of there. But then it starts to glitch. Get out starts to repeat on the screen, and the lights go off on Elliot and Ella. This makes Ella very worried, and a screen pops up that says, "Don't be afraid. There's no reason to fear us," with a ghost popping up behind Ella in rule number 5. And then it's as if something possesses Elliot. He begins to glitch out, and trust me, this isn't going to be the first time that we see this. And the things that he says next are haunting. Just listen to it for yourself.
Someone stop him! Please, Elliot, stop! Rule number 6. Don't close your eyes, or you'll miss the best part.
That's where the development team left us until today. On April 8th, there was word that a new video got out, but it wasn't by the official Giggleland's YouTube page. It was posted by a brand new YouTube channel called User JGRHERAH. And apparently this was supposed to be a secret file. However, word got out, and that's when it began to gain popularity. But if you go on this channel, you'll also see that there are 3 other videos that are very important to the lore. The first one is Elliot and Ella's episode 3, which came out 3 months ago, and it shows Elliot drawing himself as that amusement park version in his notebook. Notice, this is episode 3, which is going to be really important in the future, but you'll see Ella needs to pull some weeds. It looks like at the schoolyard. She asks for help from Elliot. Unfortunately, when Elliot goes to pull the weeds, he doesn't do it quite right, and Ella scolds him and then shows him how to do it. But that doesn't last for long, as the school bullies step over them. They take Elliot's notebook and begin tossing it around, making a big joke of him, until Ella says this.
We need to remove the weeds from the garden.
And that's when Elliot snaps. He begins to stand up and take action. But you'll notice, he's glitching once again. And this time, it's not going to end well for the bullies. After the big glitch, it just tunes back into Elliot looking at his book, and then a mysterious person comes up to him and thanks him for pulling the weeds. We find out later that this is somebody by the name of Mr. T. It looks like the school's teacher or principal, but what's interesting about the end of this video is Elliot can't find Ella anywhere, and as it pans out, the bullies are buried. Now at this point, things are a little bit freaky. Notice, Ella snapped something in Elliot. She touched him on the head, and that's when he did the unthinkable. Instead of being a coward, he jumped into action and actually killed the bullies, burying them in the same weed garden. And Mr. T notices this and actually thanks Elliot for doing it. Now there's a lot of speculation as to why Ella is no longer around after this happens, and I think that Ella is just another figment of Elliot's imagination, or the person that Elliot always wanted to be. And we can see more of that in episode 2, as it starts back off in the schoolyard, and those same bullies who were buried in the weeds are now alive again. Elliot begins venting to Ella, saying that he doesn't think any of his other classmates like him, and he wishes he could be brave just like Ella, And then he asks how he can actually do that. So Ella thinks of the greatest idea yet.
Ooh, how about we visit Mr. T?
Mr. T asks Elliot what's on his mind, and he admits that he wishes he could be more brave. Mr. T admits that he also used to deal like that when he was a little boy, and then he shows him what he calls his special book that helped him learn to be brave. He pulls out what looks like a blank book, and when the kids look at it, things change. The next thing you know, there's a person talking to Elliot through the book, telling him that one must learn the importance of hardship. And then this happens.
Only be achieved by sacrificing your former self and being born anew.
Elliot sees a younger version of himself, young and innocent, and he needs to get rid of it in order to unleash his true potential. But he's iffy on the whole thing until once again Ella speaks in his head, saying that she needs to do everything for him, and he steps closer to his younger self. But what's interesting about this is it actually flashes out towards Mr. T's office, and you can see that it's just Elliot sitting there. There's no more Ella, just him. And as it cuts back to Elliot, it begins to glitch once again as he strikes at his younger version, attacking with blood smearing from the child, until he wakes up back inside of the classroom. The frog sitting on the table, now dissected with the other classmates. But there's something odd about Elliot's face. He has somebody's skin on him, and he has the creepiest smile yet, just staring off into the distance as Ella says, "You did it." You can see here that this video is filled with dark secrets. One is that Elliot might not even be with Ella when he walks into Mr. T's office. In addition to that, there's a cup sitting on Mr. T's office that looks like it could potentially have been some type of hallucinogen that was given to him. This cup is shown later on in this video, and I want you to remember it. But Elliot does strike at his younger self, and now he's a little bit more unhinged than we remember, and that's proven at the end of this video. But this doesn't end here. If you check another video on this same YouTuber's page, things get even more interesting. There's a video called Elliot's Adventure, which looks like a normal game promotion. However, if you follow the website on this video, funkidgamezone.com, it actually unleashes a whole new lore. Once you head over to the website, you'll notice a game on here called Elliot's Adventure: The Lost Kingdom. Now, this might look like your normal game website. However, all of the other games lead you to something that says the site was supposed to be closed out years ago, and the only playable game is Elliot's Adventure. And if you begin to play, you'll unravel even more secrets. The game starts off as you talk to 4 different characters: a mole, a sheep, a wolf, and a horse. Each one of them asking you to find something in the forest. And the big one, defeat the sorcerer. Now, the game is pretty simple from that point on. You collect different items, bring them back to these characters, and in return, they unlock another part of the game. As you progress through that part, you will find another group of villagers. Now, these villagers seem very standoffish. They don't want anything to do with Elliot. You tell them you're going to help, and they seem as if they don't trust you. However, once collecting all of their materials, you can bring it back to them as well, and they'll unlock the final part of the game. Now, the normal ending once you complete all of this is just Elliot ending up back at the beginning and the different villagers congratulating him and being happy that he was able to complete the tasks. However, there are multiple endings, each one darker than the last. There's an ending in the game where if you collect a blanket for a child inside of the village, as well as bring a flower back to the horse at the beginning, where you'll actually see Mr. T. Now, Mr. T's dialogue is really interesting, as he tells Elliot that he's always been a nice boy and he's giving him the materials and supplies needed to restore his garden. Now, I don't know if these same supplies are the dead bodies that Elliot had in episode 3 of the VHS, but it's quite interesting that he would mention this. He claims that the garden isn't done growing yet though, and that he needs more seeds for it, and he needs to purify them from the evil sorcerer. Now, that's where it ends, but it really makes me wonder, who is this evil sorcerer? Obviously, it's somebody that we haven't seen up until this point just yet, but I don't think this is the canon ending. Now, there's another ending similar to the first normal ending as well, and if you put the game into God mode by hitting the tilde key, typing in /God mode, you can actually beat the game without taking any damage. And after you do that, you end up back at the beginning of the game, and they're congratulating you once again. However, it then says on the screen, you are a god. And this God mode ending is super important to get the true canon ending. But before we talk about that, let's talk about what I call the flower ending. If you collect that same flower that we did in the Mr. T ending and bring it to the horse, but don't bring the blanket to the child, then you will see the same child is at the end of the game, crying and hiding inside of a bush. When you go up to it, that's when things get weird. The child claims that it can't breathe and needs help. Do something for it. Help it. And then in giant red letters, it says help me until the screen goes to black. Now you might think this is the end of our story. However, there's actually a way to help this child. If you do the same flower ending, but put yourself in God mode, taking no damage, you will see, instead of the child crying and you being helpless, you can actually go up to the child. And when the screen goes to black, you wake up again, but things are a lot different. You'll notice Elliot has completely changed. You're back at the beginning of the village, but now he's wearing something on his face. And my belief is that this is the same skin suit from the VHS tape. And if you complete the game with all of the objects and monsters being invisible, that's when you get the true canon ending. And let me tell you, it's the most horrifying ending yet. As you complete the game, you begin to zoom out, almost Amanda the Adventurer style. And this desk looks familiar. It looks like Mr. T's desk. And that same coffee mug is sitting on it. The same one that I told you earlier was my belief to making Elliot lose his mind. And the computer zooms out, the same file that opened up this game. And guess what? Mr. T's point of view, staring at Elliot and Ella, is playing on the monitor. But this isn't even the creepiest part. Out in the distance of this forest, something or someone is walking towards you in the shadows, getting closer and glitching along the way. That same familiar glitch. And that's when you see him. Elliot, the mascot version of himself, is walking towards you until the screen goes to black. And that is the true canon ending to this video. Now it really brings up a lot of questions. Who is Mr. T? What did he do to these children? Why does he pay so much attention to them? And more importantly, who's the sorcerer in this game? Now originally I thought Mr. T was the sorcerer because when I beat the game, I did it by doing the Mr. T ending. I got to the end and lo and behold was Mr. T standing there. However, even he mentions a sorcerer, but he's definitely doing something to these children that is going in secret, as he has that same coffee mug sitting on his desk that shows up in the true canon ending. And what would you know? Elliot walks up to him, dazed, confused, and glitching out. My theory is that Ella never existed, that she's just his brave form inside of his head, the kind that he refers back to when he doesn't feel comfortable with doing something. And Mr. T is the mastermind behind this entire plot. Now, this whole game gives off Amanda the Adventurer vibes, but it really looks good, and I can't wait for the full thing to come out, seeing as we've already got so much lore on the front end. One thing's for certain, the developers did a really good job at putting their thought into this storyline, and I'm excited to see what the actual game looks like. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this story breakdown, and if you want to see some more videos on this exact game, let me know in the comment section down below and I'll make sure to check them out. Thank you guys again for all love and support, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out!